I am very honoured to be sat here now with Devin Townsend. So, how is it all going?
Everything's good. Everything's good, yeah. We're running on a really intense schedule right now in terms of shows and appearances and such, but kind of finally making headway after 20 years, and so it's like, it's definitely cool.
So it feels good to be back this year, second time around.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, Bloodstock it was such a shit show for us last year, right? That it was like, it was the opportunity to do it again. We definitely don't take it lightly because, I think that what we can offer as a band is really cool, right?
Yeah.
So we've tried to, cross all the T's and dot all the I's so we can have like a cool show that's Bloodstock specific, right? So we definitely appreciate being invited back.
Yeah. So, I mean, you were saying that there's quite a lot of sort of preparation and thing gone into tonight's show.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, it's like we find that as a touring entity, if you don't offer something different when you come back, I really think that people eventually are just going to get sick of it, right? So, we tried to mix up the set. You play some songs that we don't think went over as well as we could have had it go over last year. We made a bunch of things. Ziltoid, kind of talks to Bloodstock and his typical, offensive self, right? And then we learned a song. We tried to figure out what song could we learn that would be fairly easy to put together that we've never played before, and so we decided to play Vampira. And as a result of that, I spent last night trying to make the clicks and the samples and all this sort of stuff, and the keyboard player, Dave's going to play keyboards instead. So regardless of whether or not that works, it's like, we just wanted to put some extra effort into this, right? Because, we definitely realize what it means to be invited back again. But that being said, the schedule's been just so balls to the wall that we've been doing it like kind of in the car and like.
Is it kind of a different environment to be working sort of that close kind of to the show?
Well, no, not unfortunately, no. I'm like getting more and more used to it, right? What's they say, the warrior mentality, right? No, but I mean, really, it's like you can phone it in. You really can, right? And I think you'll get people that'll be like, oh, okay, it's cool, right? But I think that what I want to do in the future involves like having people excited about what we do. So, we're just trying to see if we can stoke the fire a little bit this year with doing some stuff that's cool for the festival. Yeah.
Now the 4-album project is now complete. How are you feeling?
Once it was finished, there was a real sense of like relief because it's been music that's been haunting me, and if you want to look at it that way, for like 4 some odd years, right? And my whole connection to Strapping Young Lad was such an intense part of my life. And when I quit the band, I quit it for reasons that were really important to me, right? I really wanted to do some different stuff, right? Yeah. And of course, the backlash from that was 4 years running of people that like have an emotional investment in that band and won't accept anything other than that, right? But I think at a certain point as an artist, you just have to let it go. It's just like, well, that's your problem in all honesty, because this is what feels natural for me to do, regardless of whether or not it's accepted, right? And I think that these records are a testament to that process, as well as deconstruction, which is in a way an exorcism of that sort of hang up that I think I had. I was like afraid of it, and I no longer, right? So and I think the people that understand why I do the things I do are just like, yeah, it's great. And the people that are hung up on the past are going to be like, well, it's not the past, right? So I think it's good to make that proclamation too, right?
Now, I was reading online about some new material for Epicloud.
That's right, yeah.
Can you tell me any more on that yet?
After deconstruction, I made a record that I was very proud of, and it's, in my opinion, a heavy metal record. And I think that as I've grown and headed, careening towards 40, I think perhaps my view on what heavy metal is and means is perhaps veered away from what the traditional idea of what that type of music, should be.
Yeah.
And I think that some of the criticisms that were sort of put towards deconstruction, I mean, I didn't take them personally, but I remember thinking, okay. So I guess what I think is metal now isn't necessarily known as metal. Okay, well, maybe I'm just not a metalhead as much as I assumed I was, right? So with Ghost and all these things. I mean, I love heavy music, but I love it as a dynamic, and I like the theatrical elements of it, right? But there's a lot of people saying, well, this and this and this has no place in it, right? And I can totally respect that, but I thought, okay, fuck it, I'm gonna make a pop record. You know what I mean? Like, I've always loved pop music, I'm gonna make a pop record, right? And then I'll go make some crazy theatrical thing. And I think that it's important for me to make a record like Epicloud because there's no real metaphor to it. They're just really epic, sort of Titanic-esque, like love songs with like heavy guitar and Annika, right? And every record I release, it tends to be viewed as like, well, that's your defining, that's what your definition of an artist is. So we'll sell you as, this kind of prog guy, or we'll sell you as a death metal guy, we'll sell you as a new agey guy, right? my whole thing is like just none of that. It's all just elements of whatever the process leads me to, right?
Yeah.
And anytime that, the labels or anybody tries to sell me as a certain type of act, I'm never gonna fit in. Like I remember we just did a death metal tour, and of course, you're the turd in the punch bowl, right? But if you sell yourself as somebody who's just like artistically being free, which is what I'm hoping to do with these shows and everything, then I think ultimately it doesn't really matter what direction the music goes, because it'll always be the thing that I wanted to do, and I think that's what's most important.
Okay. I mean, you were saying about criticism with the albums and things. How have you kind of, your opinion of the criticism changed over the years? Do you think you've just become a bit more, well, say what you like?
Well, I mean, I think you can deal with it in two ways, right? You can be resentful of it, or you can just look at it as the fact that, it's everybody has an opinion, and I think opinions are really important. And I think that if somebody doesn't like music that somebody does, that's absolutely essential to the process, right? I mean, I think anything that's sort of globally liked tends to be the sort of milquetoast, non-committal sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
I think that the fact that my music polarizes people is ultimately a good sign that at least I'm doing something that is like honest, right? Because I think if you're doing something half-assed, you might appeal to a lot more people in a lot less of a sense, right? But if you do something like from the heart and somebody hates it and someone loves it, well, there it is, right? I mean, I think it's healthy. I think it's good that people question it. I think it's good that people like and dislike it. But ultimately, beyond all that, I do it for myself, right? And I couldn't be fucked, in all honesty, what people think about it.
Do you think that's best for your creativity, to kind of not tailor it to any fan?
Well, I mean, anytime I've tried to like tailor it to anything, I realize it's just not in my artistic nature, right? So I think that it's inevitable, whether or not it comes across as being like altruistic or anything like that. It's not. I'm just doing what I do, right? And I think the thing is, as a result of being a public person for the past 20 years, you constantly have to rationalize why you do things, and I'll definitely do that because I think it's necessary in order for people to follow where it's leading, right? But beyond the rationalizations, there's no reason why I do it that way. I'm definitely not trying to piss anybody off. I'm definitely not trying to make anybody happy. I'm just doing it because that's the direction I think it's most important for me to head, right? After 20 years, the opportunity to do this, and to be in this position where I'm actually, this music that I feel passionate about is getting recognized to a certain extent. I mean, I can't not do it right now. Now's the time for me to do it, if any, right?